Hi, Jim. Hi, Jim.
Hey,
How are
how
you?
are you?
I'm doing seriously well, just
Seriously.
exceptionally well. What about you?
It's Monday. Mondays are a little bit slow on the energy level, but by the afternoon, I'll be ready to rock.
Let's make it better by the second here. So good, good, good. So thank you for joining
Mhm.
because today we will be talking about another important thing here. And last time I checked, it's going to be AI case studies for business that you wanted to share, if I'm not mistaken. So we hear a lot of buzz, we read a lot, we watch videos, we see experts commenting on how AI progressing in industries, and still there's so many questions around it because many companies still planning, they're investing little, everyone expects them to invest a lot. So can we help our business and technical audience out there to find those places where efficiencies and revenue growth can be kind of low-hanging fruit? What do you think?
Absolutely. I agree with you. You know, we moved from AI winter to AI spring, and things are budding slowly. You know, we don't have machines looking over our shoulders and, trying to watch our every move.
We don't?
Um,
Wait a second. We don't. We don't. Just checking. Fine.
Yeah, so and we don't have machines trying to take over all of our jobs yet, and they're not a danger, and we're not having drones attack people, and
We
all,
don't?
not
1 second.
yet. Not
We
yet.
don't. Let's go.
Yeah. So I'm going to take it to the pragmatic level. What's working today, and where can organizations invest and get something back? Whether that be cost, whether it be revenue, whether it be problems they couldn't deal with before. And I've got 5 examples that I'm going to run through today. And then I'm going to point to where people should focus, because there's a lot of stuff buzzing at them with AI. If you're a business person, you're hearing AI, it's like, really? And that has a lot of meanings. We're going to talk about how AI can be tamed and trained and leveraged. So the first case study I'm going to talk about is about translation. So particularly if you're in other parts of the world other than the U.S., there's always translation, and even the U.S. is becoming more Spanish in a lot of the documents, and a lot of the agreements and a lot of the contracts all have to deal with that. So there's an organization that's developed a digital assistant for consultants that do translation. And basically what it is an AI-powered NLP. And what it does is you give it a document and you say, and by the way, the name of the company is Ask Brian, that sells this to consultants and eventually to end users. And you just ask this digital assistant, translate this for me. And this saves hours and hours and hours of what I would call non-productive time. And when you have more languages, like in the European Union or Eastern Bloc, this is time savings, significant time savings. This one doesn't have as much revenue opportunity, but in fact, what it's doing is using NLP to basically translate. And what we're finding is most of the companies have a translation issue that they're dealing with. I worked at a multinational, and we had that problem all the time. If it wasn't rules, it was contracts that we had to deal with. If it wasn't, and it was local regional governments and how to deal with that. And so this particular case study, they're seeing 30% rate of return, which is a lot better than the investment hurdle rate. Even when the stock market was going full blast, it was not doing 30% rate of return. So this was more of a cost savings kind of deal. They plan on having more and more of these digital assistants for different aspects of work. As people become more comfortable with AI, they become more comfortable with NLP, if they become more comfortable with ML, machine language. We're going to see more and more of these little digital assistants pop up, almost like bots in essence, smart bots. And so we see the idea of bots coming from a couple of directions. One is from the customer perspective, and digital assistants and chat bots. Then we see the smart bots, and then we also see the robotic bots. All of them are headed towards Botville. So anyhow, that was the first case study. Do you have any questions or comments on that one?
Sure. You know, in every case study, I want to understand, what were the challenges you mentioned, kind of, right? Not to be able to process the translation efficiently and effectively, but also what were the benefits that they saw? Can you spell it out once more?
Well, yeah, they were wasting a lot of time, and they were saying that you can guarantee almost 30% of rate of return. One of the issues, however, is that the translation isn't perfect.
Right. It still requires human, at least some check, right? Some editing and
exactly.
Fixing. Yeah, I understand. Okay.
But it cuts the bulk of the work out of it. And so, there are obvious cost saving kinds of things, but there's also frustration and turnaround time. I mean, time to market these days is so important, and this allows them to collapse the time to get certain contracts done, for instance. So, there are a lot of time benefits, cost benefits, people annoyance benefits.
People annoyance is important, yeah.
And this time, the machine's helping people, which is good.
Good. So applying to this case study, one of the myths of AI, right, is that AI can work autonomously. It does not require people, it replaces people. So applying to this example, how is this human machine interaction here, what was improved and where people still need to check the results?
Well, I think right now they're saying it's about 80-20. And they're trying to move it to, 97-3. So they have goals of making the translation better and less human interaction, but the human asks for the result, the human checks the result, and the human changes the rules in the translation. So there's some customization. I mean, for instance, I use Grammarly a lot for my writing, only because I make lots of mistakes.
I cannot believe it, but I see Grammarly, yes, it's a great tool. Yep, I checked it out.
Yeah, and Grammarly is, it's a collaboration of me and, algorithms.
Yeah.
They probably have some machine learning in there. I don't know because I didn't write the software.
They're learning your style. Watch out for this. So yeah, what about ethics, Jim? What about ethics? Not in translation, because I'm sure we can dig deeper into this, right? Because some of the translation results may be not ethical after all, right? So that's where human kind of ruling still important, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then there's certain governance constraints that the translation's not going to understand that context. And you're translating a specific kind of thing, but the humans still have to understand the context that these things play in. And so right now, that's
better, right? We're still a little bit better than those machines, you saying?
Well, when it comes to automation part, machines are better. But when it comes to the judgment, we're better.
But what about emotions there? I know it's not a translation use case, but we're still pretty emotional beings, okay? And machine is learning that too. So maybe some other case studies can sort of showcase.
There are other case studies that I'm aware of, but I just haven't gotten into detail where you can figure out what kind of mood people are in. And you see this in shopping situations where people can see your face and they know a little bit about you because you have a
scary. That's scary. I'm guilty as charged myself. My emotions on my face a lot. Much more than I'm planning to show and much more than I want to show. But I know what you mean. So machines is watching and machine is taking a note. Yes.
Yeah, and I think initially they'll just know your cell phones in a store and direct you to where you've purchased in the past. I mean, that's pretty benign. But eventually,
that's powerful. harmless rather. Harmful will be when they start knowing more about me than I know about myself. And that's
Well,
coming too, right? So
yeah, that could happen. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen those in the case studies. Most of the case studies I see are pretty focused, pretty practical leverage of AI. So you'll see that as I go through the other four.
let's go with it. Yep, yep.
Okay, well, here's another example, and this is using non-traditional unstructured data. So this is, in essence, machine learning looking at shovel tooths to see if they're broken off.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, picture a mining environment, and you have a front end loaders that, have teeth on them and they're, carrying dirt. You have shovels that are digging into the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is these things will break off or will be about to break off. So this particular company, well, a number of mining companies are doing this, but the company that provided it is a company called Worldwide Technology. They create algorithms that look at the video in real time to know whether a tooth is going to break off,
Mm-hmm.
or if a tooth has broken off. And you say, well, so what? Well, literally it's a safety issue because most of that dirt or equipment drops it into some kind of grinder or some kind of sorter, and those things can shoot out those teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very expensive to these grinders and machines that process the ore further. And so they're able to save some costs, but more save lives and injuries by doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And so a number of mining companies are using this video surveillance and machine learning to know when a tooth is going to break off. And if you can catch it, you can even weld it. So you don't have to put a new tooth on or a new shovel on. And so this was a great example of the physical world using non-traditional data with AI.
So they proactively monitoring equipment. Do I read it correctly?
Exactly.
Uh-huh. And they able to predict, right, the future failures, I hope, right?
Yeah, some of that, exactly. But where it first started was, are there missing teeth? And we better watch out. Let's, we know that this machine has been here and working on this pile. We'll have to sift this or have somebody go in and inspect it. So they're using some pretty cool algorithms and machine learning algorithms to come up with this solution. So saving money, saving lives.
Exactly. This is a good one. So saving money, we hear a lot, but this
Right.
one is about safety. So that's an excellent point. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So that was a very interesting one. The third one, we've all, been abhorred at the active shooter idea.
Mm-hmm.
People being in churches and in public buildings, in schools, etc. Well, one of the issues is the emergency people, the EMTs, the police, they don't know the building that they're in.
Okay.
So, they got to roll out the plans. Or they can do this. There's a company that can digitize the actual blueprints and make it available on a tablet.
Mm-hmm.
As the emergency people, or even a phone, depending upon the size. And the importance is now you're giving context to the emergency people. They know where the safety areas are. They know where the locks are. They know, and they don't have to do that and install expensive real-time cameras everywhere. They can do this in a batch ahead of time. So they have, I don't know if you've seen the Google cars running around the streets with the little spinning,
Of course. Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Scanners.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have a portable scanner that you can put on the back of people as they walk through the building. And they're able to do this very quickly. So there's a whole list of soft targets that a company called Entropy LLC has come up with. And they said, even with normal scanning technology, it's going to take 25 years to digitize these soft targets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with this other solution, which is provided by a company called GeoSlam, it's able to digitize it super fast by people just walking through the corridors.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
And making marks, this has a lock, this doesn't have a lock.
Mm-hmm.
It's close to a camera, it's close to a fire extinguisher, etc. And they're using this to save lives. And they're using this in a more proactive fashion. And if somebody's in, an active shooter, they're not going to be thinking about, people having an edge on them, knowing the plans where they don't. So if it turns out they're very familiar with a school, a hospital, a church, then that puts the emergency people at least on a level plane. If the people that are attacking don't know it, it actually gives an advantage to the emergency personnel.
I want to see proliferation of facilities and towns and places, right, equipped with technology like this. Absolutely. So if I understood correctly, you're not digitizing the existing layouts, not you, right, but the company. So what they do, they use some of it, but they also use AI to predict and lay out the unknowns, you're saying, right?
Yeah, they use it to predict where somebody might be hiding, or where where the cafeteria is, where a bulk of people are, or where the study halls might be. So it's using a combination of captured digitization and some smarts applied to that that electronic blueprint.
Well, this is fantastic, because actually a lot of these buildings, they are not unique, one of the kind, right? Schools have certain architecture, right? As well as government buildings and a lot of malls and a lot of other public places, right? So I guess there is a way to learn without actually loading all the blueprints of each particular building, I hope, right? So yeah, that's...
I hope they get to that. So far they haven't done that. I haven't heard that, but that seems like a next logical step. Saying, there are patterns to these buildings, and they're laid out quite commonly this way in California, for instance. Exactly. In Arizona, we have a lot of outdoor spaces, so there's not a lot of hallway, so people walk between little node buildings. So I'm in Arizona, I'm going to get node buildings versus one, let's say in the East Coast, where you have a lot of bad weather, everything's contained in one unit. Usually.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. People overrate bad weather. We did not have a single snow day this season. I know everyone's patronizing East Coast, saying, "Oh, you're a snowy country out there." No, we're not. Well, and even if we are.
I moved from Wisconsin, which was super snowy for that reason. So I've already shown that I have a bias.
Good. I got you. Yeah, this is just to have a break. So yes. So we talked about translation, right? Business efficiencies. We talked about mining and equipment, monitoring the equipment, which is fantastic, new to me, right? And we talked about, active shooter scenes, which is, I want to see more news how technology helping. Yeah.
So there's a couple of spectacular ones. Now I'm going to come down to some, what I would consider more mundane ones that everybody can do. Okay. They don't have the wow and the pop, but they're very, very helpful. Imagine, this is a big company that does infrastructure. So they do pipes, they do pumps, they do air purification as they build buildings. And so one of the things that they find when they're doing air movement, water movement, sewage movement, whatever they're moving, they're using pumps. And pumps, what do? They go out, right? And you have to be able to predict when they're going to go out. And then when they go out, you have to be able to fix them and fix them fast, right? Nobody wants smelly sewage backing up, right? Or nobody wants to be out of water, right? So this particular company has all the documentation on all their pumps and all their uses in this great big, what I would call stinking manual. I don't like reading through big manuals when I'm trying to get someplace. So the master people that, you know, fix these pumps all the time, they know it. It's in their head. But there's a bunch of junior people, there's a bunch of people that didn't design the whole system that have to learn. So they've been able to capture the documents, go through and through keyword and keyword assignments and making knowledge ontologies. They're able to link together. And for instance, if somebody's working on a particular pump, they can take a picture of that pump.
And add, right? I'm guessing an add to the ontology, I guess, right?
Yeah,
so
add to the ontology.
Okay.
Or if it's broken, you could be a junior pump fixer. I don't even know what they're called. And you could get an advanced video put on your phone to say, here's how, these are the common problems. These are, you know, this is how to deal with it. And it could send you a video. Or it could give you an online kind of manual pointed at exactly what you want. So there's this company called XClone that does this digitization of manuals so that you can help maintain. And the company that was, you know, in charge of putting all these pumps in, they're starting to put in predictive analytics and machine learning to learn more than what was in the manuals, what was in, you know, the original manuals. So this one's kind of cool, but you're doing everyday reading manuals and pulling knowledge out of the manuals, leveraging that knowledge to people that don't know, or to people that are under pressure during emergencies, like backed up water, backed up sewage. So this was a really cool one. And this is this particular company allowed us to use their name. Usually case studies are blind. The name of the company that builds the infrastructure is Black and Veatch. So they're out of the St. Louis area. So they allowed us to use their name, thank goodness.
Very good. So this is classical knowledge enhancement use case. And we hear a lot about it, but I love how you demonstrate where less experienced or less trained personnel, right, can have all the benefits that company acquired as an entity. And it can be shared, I hope, in real time when you really need that knowledge. So, and plus it's interactive. So you can contribute. It's almost like Wikipedia at that level, where you can add your own knowledge, right?
Yeah, you're right.
No,
so the last one is really mundane in that it combines process and machine learning. Well, everybody has lots of processes. Well, what's not mundane is this is a very small ad agency in the New York area that has to compete with the big boys and the big girls. And so the problem with ads is it takes forever to make them. You know, month and a half. And finding the keywords to make the ads around, you know, is a lot of work. So what this company has done is they've really squeezed the time to build ads down to the point where it's cheap enough that they can give it to smaller companies. So now you have big ad agency leverage for a small company. So the name of this is called the Constellation Agency. And so what they do is they make quick ads. And they've built a whole business about building quick ads by using process and machine learning to find the right kind of terms to make ads around. So they use it to find graphics, they use it to find keywords, and they're fantastic at building cheap, quick ads in a very fast time to market. And this is kind of like, you know, you could do this with your processes. You could add machine learning. You could add different kinds of things to your processes to make them work.
Oh, I'll check them out. I mean, this is important because I'm seeing a lot of humorous posts about, these funny AI ads, okay, and how they're still
Yeah.
not there. But this is an interesting proving point that, hey, if people building the entire business on gaining efficiencies when others just laughing, maybe we should start laughing. Maybe.
Well, they're not, the AI is not writing the ad. They're still humans. It's just
Mhm.
they're quickening the process by using
In the
AI
process.
engine.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. It would be great to get one of these fantastic companies here with us to talk deeper in what they achieved maybe one day. But yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, instead of me summarizing them, and I just look for things that I can publish and give away free because I'm trying to say, look, what you can do with this stuff. This stuff
Beautiful. Yeah.
is great.
And we do,
So,
yeah, we want to raise confidence out there, right? That these things
right.
are possible. And from your observations, what's the time frame that people about, able to accomplish any
Very,
small successes? We're not talking about revolutionary changes. We're
yeah.
talking about first,
Yeah,
like,
these small focused
mhm,
problems,
mhm,
depending upon what it is, like the equipment deal. It took them a long time to analyze video to find the missing teeth. I mean, you had to find the right algorithm, and it was a lot of work. But some of these other ones could be done in weeks.
yeah, that's
Just apply.
important, right? That's important because when you try new tech, right, new technology, you want to have these proof points to be able to demonstrate to your colleagues first, right, to your internal stakeholders first. So that's not going away with any new technology we're employing here. So good. So first few weeks, you can kind of feel.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it depends on how you decide.
Mhm.
They're one of my favorite sayings from one of my bosses is, pioneers get arrows in their backside, and he used a different word for backside, obviously.
Mhm.
But where can you be assured some success? First of all, focused problems, very focused problems. It's not AI coming in, swooping in, and doing this massive thing. Very focused kinds of problems. And where you already have technology, you can take and embed AI in there because AI has better calculations, quicker at learning mundane things than we are. I mean, and translation's mundane. So it's, obviously AI helped. And anytime there's a lot of complexity, you can hide it with AI. You
Mhm.
can make it simple. You can black box it and let it, crank away on stuff that I don't want to crank away on. I mean, I use Grammarly because I have poor grammar.
I cannot believe it, but okay, I'll have to. So yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, when Grammarly rates me against everybody else, I always win on productivity. I
Good.
always win on using new terms. But where I lose on is correctness. So it helps me with my correctness. So the idea of, there are other things that you can do with AI, and I'm not saying don't do that. I'm
Mhm.
just saying if you want proof points, if you want to save money to build up a fund where you can try more exciting and maybe more exploratory things, start off with focused problems, save the money, take a certain amount of that money and use it as a fund for investing in new kinds of things. We find most companies are successful using that approach, using part of the savings, not just to give it to the accountants so they can take credit and go, price up. I'm sorry. I used to be an accountant, so I guess I can do that. That you're actually taking some of that money and you're reinvesting it so that you can get more savings. A lot of times people have this short-term mentality, and I think that needs to expand.
That needs to expand. So anything up your sleeve, Jim, to demonstrate revenue growth with AI? I do see some publications on the topic, but to me, it will be either what growing new product line, growing, expanding your business, opening up new line of business even. Can
Yeah,
AI, be used for
yeah,
revenue?
that ad agency used it to raise revenue. I mean, only big companies with big deep pockets could have ads done very, professionally. And so not everybody has that kind of money, not everybody has deep pockets. They're not all cash cows. So they were able to reduce the time and the price and the cost so that they could raise a lot of revenue. So, there are ways of raising revenue by cutting time, cutting costs, and, making it more advantageous or smarter even. Everybody wants to work with smarter. So imagine a customer journey that was smarter. I mean, I don't know if you've dealt with getting serviced as a customer, but for me, it's never any fun. Whether I call in or whether I do it on the computer, I'm always going, why hasn't somebody done something about this? Instead of making me and the next person next to me and somebody out there deal with the same difficult situation.
You know what? You have a good point, because I rather surprised when things is going well with customer service. There are cases like this. You know what? I have a couple of favorite places where I get help all the time, and it's nice companies to deal with. Okay, I love Nostrum. I love Pottery Barn very much. They're extremely helpful. They're trying to accommodate whatever it is, and you speak with human, not machine, all the time, which helps. So yeah, there are companies that's really there, but most of the time, right, it's what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we can use every digital assistant as long as it's helpful and it's not going from the beginning every time you are trying to state your case. So we know those pains. But beyond customer assistance, what I'm seeing, lots of efficiencies, like you said, in marketing and sales, achieved by AI, because any kind of productivity boost, any kind of on sales side, right, helping to allocate the account that may be prone for your account-based marketing or for your outreach is really popping up there, those examples. So very cool. Jim, did we talk about all 5 cases you brought today?
Yes, we did.
We did. Very good. So
I'm looking for more. If you have some, contact me. There's a chance of getting them written up with your name on it or without your name on it, whatever you're looking to do.
Absolutely. No, very good, very good. So I'm hearing some buzz around data science. What is it, and where people gaining efficiencies there? Because frankly, still there are lots of confusion. Where AI, where's machine learning, where the algorithm, and what the data science mystery in all this. So it's kind of interesting to see. Yeah. And
well, I find that it's not only AI, it's not only algorithms from data scientists. It's usually a hybrid.
Yep.
And I'm finding.
And what's showing to me, it's very inefficient right now, because again, right, it's not a mainstream yet. So because the prices on the market for the experts out there is tremendous, okay? So if you are a data scientist with good pedigree and with some results to demonstrate, this tells me this is like back in 90s, what databasemarketing.com bubble almost, because not everyone in yet, but it's very much in demand and growing. So that I'll be watching that area.
Yeah, and I think the advent of data science platforms and decisioning platforms, the decision modeling, all of that is going to make it more available to the average person.
Great point, because the industry will not survive without it, right? And we talked about some ivory towers out there, but absolutely new tools have to show up. And new kind of,
look at how long it's taken programming to go from professional, beef eating programmers that
I know the type. So
yeah, you throw a piece of beef over the top of the cubicle and a bone rolls out at the end of the day. And now we've got the citizen developer. And so we've got low code, we've got no code, we've got model driven code. We've got all of these things working together to make programming interesting. So I think we're going to have the same thing happen in data science.
Perfect. Jim, you know what? I cannot oversee the news today. And the news, again, we're all watching coronavirus, we're watching what scientists, technologists, health services, right, able to do at every level. So one article drew my attention, it's in Wired, and it's about how AI is tracking the coronavirus outbreak. I think that's quite interesting one, because what I understand researchers are doing, they're using artificial intelligence and they're applying machine learning to social media and different data sources, okay, to understand the spread of the outbreak, because we know it's out of China now, we know there are other pockets, and it's important to predict, okay, the behavior of the virus. So can you comment, what do you think they're using? What do you think is a potential there?
Well, this happened with SARS as well. They started getting anticipatory algorithms, and they started getting dynamic and animated maps showing the spread. And I think from a dashboard standpoint, it's very, very helpful. I think what you're talking about is getting supplies in ahead of time, knowing where the hot spots, where the limited supplies are going to go is important. What the downstream effect is going to be. You know, all those things can use AI or algorithms or a combination. I think as we get more sophisticated, you know, I mean, we're starting to see this happening in ripples. I mean, in my lifetime, the first part of my life, I didn't hear about a lot of things because we had inoculations for everything. And so none of the stuff happened. And now we have all these emergent diseases. We're going to start getting better at emergent diseases and emergent behavior. And we'll learn how to have algorithms. You know, the problem with coronavirus is it's hard to know where it is because of the lag time from the time people are infected to the time the actual you know, symptoms show up, if they show up at all. So they're having to adjust their algorithms, I'll guarantee you, if they are using the algorithms or AI. But that's an ideal situation. Any emergent problem is perfect for AI.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, definitely be right. Continue watching the news, but most importantly, yeah, where tech is in all this, because yeah, besides revenue growth and cost savings, we want tech to help us to stay on this planet for longer. So
yeah, I agree.
Good, good.
I like living longer myself. Yes.
You like living longer. I like living, and I like living good. So
yes.
Perfect. I hope by now, Jim, your month is going a little bit better.
Well, yeah, talking about one of my favorite topics energizes me. Yes.
Perfect, perfect. So I want to thank everyone who is watching Soga Talks, and I want to ask everyone to like, comment, and subscribe. We do want engagement. We want a lot of comments. We want a lot of topics to talk about. So thanks for watching so much. Subscribe to Soga Talks. Thanks, Jim. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.
You too.